Again, this on Rosecrans now at North Acacia Avenue, and the driver continues to not yield. And there it is again. You can see another shot with the balloon for this suspect, which now we're about to see another pit maneuver, and there is another one, and we'll see if the sheriff's changed tactics at all to try to pin him in a little bit more. But with the pickup truck, he's going to have a little bit more of an opportunity to go over those medians, and he's done it again. Now he's going into officers. This is where it begins to get dangerous for other people, because even though he's going at slow rates of speed, he is just not stopping, and he's going into traffic. So now we've gotten off of Rosecrans, and we are on a side street here at about 25 miles an hour. No word on if there was any damage to the undercarriage having gone over that curb and the median, because you can hit the undercarriage pretty hard on that curb and cause some damage. But to this point, this does not look like there's any damage to the vehicle, and the person is now going to continue on. Again, at a stop sign, checking both directions, and then slowly driving away. But somehow he's now eluded authorities in 3 pit maneuvers where they have not been able to get him to stop. But again, here we are, not riskily blowing through a stop sign, but just moving on through. So now we have an officer approaching from a different direction. And again, this is now West Elm Street, turning off West Elm. Again, West Elm and Acacia, it looks as if so. But you do have the risk now that you're in this part of this type of driving, that there could be bystanders that come out into the street, might not realize there's a chase underway, could step out and put themselves in harm's way. So officers are going to have to take that into consideration. You see this person, that is an officer. We have an officer there, and there is a spike strip that he is driving right over. So that, we have no doubt that he hit the spike strip that time. So that's going to disable the front tires of this truck, and you can see the thread, the string, the rope there behind, so it's still underneath his vehicle. And we're going to see how long that is going to be able to, he's going to be able to continue driving with that less than lethal opportunity to stop it. I couldn't even tell. Now, Giovanna Lara is joining us now, but you couldn't even really tell if that was a spike strip or if it was something else, some other that tool they threw, another device that they threw under the vehicle, because it didn't look like the spike strip.
No, it sure did not. But I've been watching and listening to you for the last 10 minutes or so. This guy is determined to get away at slow speeds, as we are seeing. And was it 3 pit maneuvers that they attempted?
At this point, yeah, there have been 3. And again, you see the people on the sidewalk. So driving in this neighborhood puts folks that are just minding their own business at risk, regardless of how reckless or safe he's driving.
And what was remarkable, that there were so many police cars there, and he just weaved his way right through them. I was expecting some of the officers to be a little bit more aggressive and get in his way, but, you know, without knowing if he is armed, I guess that would be a reason why they wouldn't want to completely encircle him.
Well, at those points, you're not wanting to put officers at risk, because, to this point, he's not driven recklessly. He just refuses to stop. And we have been told that it was indeed a spike strip that they put under there. There was a doubt between the two of us. It just didn't look like a standard spike strip. But to the right, you see the videotape of what this person has done previously. So it's this fine balance for officers to try to stop him from moving forward without putting officers at risk. So they're not going to really block him in if he can get any kind of movement going forward. They're going to, if they can get him so that he can't get going fast and cause them pain, then maybe they might try to box him in. But that's the spot there on the right is when I thought he might damage the undercarriage of the truck, possibly break the axle by driving over in such a manner of those curbs. But he hasn't, and he's just been able to continue to drive. Now we see on the left, they've opened their doors. So unfortunately, we can't see why he has stopped. but it could be due to damage from the spike strip. Now there he goes again.
Yeah, and he's continuing. And if you're just joining us, this is happening in Compton. You see the driver of this pickup truck evading police after three pit maneuvers and one attempt at a spike strip. And this guy is still going. And as you can see, there's a balloon in his hand. We think it's a balloon, looks like a balloon. And it seems like he is inhaling something.
And that would be the possibly helium,
Yes.
and any number of things. This was we don't understand exactly why he's trying to get away from authorities. At one point, they did go into a surveillance mode. They were just kind of watching him. Generally, he's been in light traffic, but this again is the kind of similar thing. So now there's nowhere to go. He is potentially on a bike path, it looks like, and is now. He's now pinned in. He can't go forward. Officers are not at risk. And look at the number of officers behind him. The big risk, I would think, at this point is that this person might try to get onto the bike path and potentially try to drive on the bike path. Yeah. That would be something that authorities don't want. And because if you're on the bike path, there's quite literally nowhere to go if you're a cyclist and you see a truck coming at you. So they certainly don't want him going forward, but that's kind of his choice at this point.
Yeah. And you see the law enforcement officers behind him. They've all exited their cars. They're all holding weapons. Again, we don't know what the initial want for this pursuit was, and we don't know if they know whether he is armed and dangerous. And this guy seems to be continuing holding on to that balloon, which is a little funny to me.
Well, the balloon has deflated and inflated.
Yes.
So my assumption is that he is inhaling whatever it is he's putting into the balloon, which would suggest, and I can't say this for sure, but it suggests that he's under the influence and would be acting irrationally. Now you've got a dog that's right there in front of the vehicle. So again, you wouldn't want that to get in the way. You certainly don't want to put the dog at risk there, but right. You just worry about the bike path. You see officers here. So they are going to try to keep him from heading that direction. The concern I would have is if he were to turn right. That seems to be the direction that his vehicle is pointed, and if he somehow got onto that bike path, hopefully he will not make that choice. Yeah,
and my understanding is we picked this up at about 12:40. May have been going on a little longer than that, but that is the information we have so far. So we've been following it, the last 15, 20 minutes or so, and he's remained in Compton for the most part.
Yes, and he still is in Compton. If you're trying to identify this part of town, you're seeing at West Poplar Street. And at this point, it almost seems as if it is a standoff where now he's either rolling down his window or up. I can't really tell if the window is open, but you could see him moving his arm there, trying to roll down the window. And then, so now this is the difficult thing for officers too, because as he leans across the cab of that truck, they don't know what he might be grabbing. He could be reaching into the glove compartment. He could be reaching under the chair or under the seat. So they just don't know, and you really don't want to see him continuing to take his hands out of his. No, he is. Watch. Okay, he's just filled up the balloon again.
Yes. So he must have a helium tank.
I would assume. That's an assumption that is not unreasonable given at this point. So.
Yes. Yeah, so you just wonder what his state of mind is right now. And I have a question about, is that wood in the cab of the truck?
It looks as if it's tree stumps, that possibly there was some stump removal. Now let's see what they do if they're going to. So clearly he can't go backwards now. Mm-hmm. So they're setting it up so he can't go backwards. The question for me, again, continues to be, can he go to the right? To the left, it's going to be difficult because of the angle of his vehicle.
Right.
He's not going to be able to make that. The wheel turn is not going to allow him to do that, turning radius. But he can make that right turn, our left. And if he turns to the right, he could end up on the bike path. Yeah. But there could be, and I can't really tell from Air 7, if there's something blocking him to keep him from going that way.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that the gates there, it doesn't seem like a very wide opening. In that space, wider. It's not as wide as the left, but either way, he's not. Oh, something just happened.
They might be shooting less than lethal in there, tear gas.
Yeah,
there could be tear gas. Yep. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yep.
So they have fired tear gas, and now you see him with his hands possibly. Well, he still has his. It looked to me as helium there. You see the little container.
The window is down. It appears. It looks like he's communicating with them.
They have shot pepper balls into the cab of the truck, which, if you've ever been around that pepper spray, that is an unpleasant experience.
Although he doesn't seem to be reacting.
But he's got the window down, and so if he's wanting fresh air, he's just poking his head out the window. And again, if that is helium and he has inhaled as much as we've watched, he's certainly not in his right mind. And so now it looks as if he is yelling at sheriff's deputies who, off screen to our right, his left, you could see the officers just beyond our frame here on that bike path. They might have moved from there, but that's where there were a couple of officers. There they are. So they're actually moving back. He may have yelled at them to the point that they want to reduce the conflict. They want to decrease the tension. So maybe they did want to move it.
De-escalate. Oh, and this is a good view of him.
You can see him rubbing his eyes.
Yeah.
So, yes, he has taken a heavy amount of pepper spray. They fired it in. Now, okay, they're asking him to start removing things. So hopefully that's probably what they're asking him to do. I'm not sure what it is that he tossed. But now they're going to try to get him out of the vehicle. But this is not the way. They're firing more pepper spray in. Can you see it? You can see the pepper spray exploding there in the cab of the truck.
Is it going through the windshield?
They're probably shooting it through the back windshield. And
it's open?
Well, in most pickup trucks, there's that window that's just behind the driver. So if he's driving with that open, they could fire it in.
Right.
But they could also probably, depending on, usually those pepper balls break on contact. So I can't imagine without a window open, they would be able to get it in there.
Yeah.
But clearly we saw it go in.
Okay. He was pointing at them, it looks like. I thought it was a good sign that he threw whatever he threw out the window. I thought that was a good sign that he is complying. But there's still some negotiation underway.
It looks as if he's complaining that they hit him in the arm. He showed them his forearm, and he's clearly talking to them, yelling at them, and it is, obviously he is still upset at some level. Has he now rolled up the window?
He's reaching for something.
He rolled the window back up, which, of course, is not what you want to see. That is you had hoped, and we did, that he was starting his compliance. But, now he's rolled the windows up, and he's getting more pepper spray. Yeah. So at some point, you wonder if they might go with tear gas, something that might even be, more of it to just almost fill the whole cab. Yeah. But the pepper spray is pretty bad. I'm surprised that he is able to stay in there and handle whatever they have done.
Well, time is on the side of law enforcement. They can take their time with this. Mm-hmm. There's no rush. It doesn't seem that anyone is in danger in the neighborhood. I wonder if they have made any efforts to evacuate some of the homes on either side of this street. Hard to know.
Well, the one, my concern was for the bike path, and you mentioned he might not be able to get on it. But the good news is he's been here long enough that officers, sheriff's deputies would have been able to secure that bike path. So if he were to turn right, even if he could, my assumption is that they will have secured that. Nobody's going to be coming down either direction of that bike path. So to your point about people being safe, I think that the bike, if he just stays in that truck and continues to inhale, he's going to remain under the influence, and he's probably going to continue the current bad behavior. And so they might be a very nonverbal talker. In other words, he whenever he's talking, we can see him use his hands, and so we know that he's talking to him. See,
a patrol vehicle, and like we just talked about, it's a very tight street with cars on both sides. It's going to be tricky, but that's what they want to do, and so they're going to do that.
How much is this shielding them from whatever he's watching? Because, if the difference between that Bearcat and that SUV is remarkable, and he's not going to be able to see as much. He hasn't been able to move for over an hour, but
just west of Wilmington Avenue at a bike path. In front of that pickup truck is the wash, where that is basically the end of Poplar Street. They have both sides of that bike path completely blocked with black and whites, and now you see that Bearcat right behind that primary unit with additional SEB officers ready to make their move and extract the driver from that vehicle once they get the go-ahead. It certainly appears at this point that they are waiting for those higher-ranking officers to make that call. Right now, they have used a number of other tools at their disposal, including several rounds of pepper balls and other tear gas to try and agitate that suspect and blind him. However, none of it had the desired effect of smoking him out of the vehicle. He has been